Welcome to the Vocal Lab podcast with your hosts Shelby Rollins and Jason Catrone, bringing you the best from the music industry. Get ready for first-class conversations packed with exclusive techniques and transformative insights, all designed to help you reach your top note.
Well, hello, Jason.
Hello, Shelby.
Back at it.
We are back at it. It's like we never stop.
Pretty much. Sometimes literally it is that way.
Pretty much we never stop.
Yeah.
But it's good. I like it. You know, I think, this isn't kids' play, this creative life. It is not kids' play. It is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Or the lack of talent.
Sometimes it's a grind.
And sometimes it's, just seems incessant.
But it's good. I will say this has been
great.
Starting the podcast and shooting the podcast and all the interviews has actually been really fun to me and a different type of work to my normal work week. So it's introduced some new energy and life, and I'm all about that.
I agree with that. I think it's, and again, just the overall, reality of podcasting and the platform that it is. I think that's why it's so fun and popular for people not only to listen to, but for people to do, because it's really just talking story.
And it's kind of the relational exchange.
It is.
Right?
It's like,
which we all crave.
100%. And it's just like having coffee with friends and
having coffee
shooting
with
the
my
shiz,
friend.
as they say, and talking shop and all those little funny things we do, things we say. Which, there's this funny little point. Do you realize, you know what those are called, right?
Colloquialisms?
Yeah, and I just thought of the other word it's called.
I don't know. Sayings?
But Americans are really, by and large, the only people that use those.
Oh, really?
I mean, every culture has a few
Quips.
that they do.
What was
but
the word
we use
you
them
had?
all the time.
You forgot the word?
Yeah, I can't remember what it is.
You're going to think of it in 10
Are
minutes.
they called idioms?
Maybe.
I think they're called idioms.
I don't know.
But Americans use them all the time, every day, in every conversation.
I guess I just assumed everybody did.
So here's what's funny about it. Because I learned this on a trip to Poland. Because they made us, I don't know why, it was part of the training. I went on a mission trip to Poland one time. And it was part of the training to be aware of some of the most common
Idioms?
phrases, idioms that we use.
That don't make sense to other people.
Like, that's a Mickey Mouse operation. When you say that to someone in another country, they're like, what's Mickey Mouse got to do with this?
Right.
They're like, now we're talking about Disney World inside of this podcast?
Yeah.
So we use these little funny things all the dang time.
Yeah.
Right? And so we don't even think about them. We just throw them out.
They all have such funny origins. There's always stories behind them, too.
So it made me laugh when I became aware of that, just realizing, wow, people from other countries really do think we're nuts in a lot of ways.
Most likely.
Yeah.
That's okay. So, Jason, tell me, today we're going to tell a few of our performance stories.
Okay.
Because
they're fun.
Obviously we're vocal coaches, but we're both performers. So
we're performing right now in some ways.
So whether it's an emotional sad story or a funny story, what you got today? What's coming up? What's bubbling up that you want to share?
On the performance realm.
Mm-hmm. Or should I go first?
You should go first.
All right, I'll go first.
Because I'm prone to drag these things out, and then you won't have time for yours.
That's fair. That's true.
Okay.
I was thinking about this the other day. And I actually think about this often, to be honest, but it was really present in my mind this past week. It's kind of been an emotional week. I'm going to be totally honest. I launched my middle schooler into middle school this week, and she's my oldest, my only girl, and, going into 6th grade public school, it's like a whole thing. And we all remember middle school, it's emotional, there's just a lot there. And she's done really great. She actually is loving it, and I'm so thrilled because that was just... It was a lot. There's a lot going on in our emotional world. But it's just sort of gotten me thinking, and I'm probably not going to draw the line of connection between what I just said and what this performance story is, but for my own reasons, this bubbled back up, okay? And it was my very first performance ever as a soloist. And I was almost her age. I was a year younger. I was in the 5th grade.
Okay.
And so I would have been 10 years old. I was supposed to sing at my church's Valentine's Day banquet, which is our fundraiser for our youth choir. It was just quaint, small. It was at our choir director's house. There's probably 40 or 50 people in the audience, which was a lot of people to study. Their house was big, but they had to stuff a lot of people in the living room, and they had a little stage and everything. Okay. And so my mom was my accompanist, and I had worked up a song called "The Look of Love." Anybody know the song?
The Look of Love.
That's it. That was the song I was going to sing. I was 10. Isn't that funny that I was going to sing that song?
Yeah, that's good.
But that was the song I had chosen for the Valentine's Day banquet.
It's a good one.
And I'm like side stage, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm getting more and more nervous, more and more anxious, and my time comes, and I chickened out. I freaked out. I couldn't do it. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I was just too scared, very paralyzed. And my mom was trying to encourage me to do it, but she wasn't going to force me, so she's like, okay. So they moved on. The next person to go in the queue was my best friend, who actually, Danny Rader's wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so we just had Danny on the podcast, and it was his wife. So she and I grew up together, and she was singing, I forget what she sang, but she was singing next, and my mom was also her accompanist. And she gets out, she goes on stage, she kills it. She's doing great. And I'm watching her side stage, and I'm like enjoying watching her. I'm inspired watching her, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do it. I got my nerve, you know, and I was like the whole time I'm like kind of, I can do this, I can do this. If she can do it, I can do it. So the song ends, and I tell my choir director, like, I'm ready to sing this song. And he goes, he's like, I'm sorry, but it's too late, and the show must go on. And I didn't get to sing. So I guess my story is that I didn't perform, but it was the most, when I tell you that's a core memory for me.
It's amazing you're still here.
It wrecked me.
Doing music.
And I didn't even realize how much it wrecked me at the time, because I was really disappointed, but I was able to move on and function as a human. I was 10. Yeah. You know, you build up, there's these different defense mechanisms. But the way that is played out in my life for years is actually really kind of sad, but also fascinating. And
it's also everyone's story in some way, right?
Yeah,
That's why
the things that form us when we're younger, whether it's the good stuff that forms us or the bad stuff that forms us, plays out in our lives, and it would behoove us all to tap into some of those childhood memories and see what happened, and then think about how that impacted the rest of our lives and our trajectory. Because even though I got back on the horse and I performed, and lots of solos, lots of performances. I moved to New York City to be an artist, a solo artist, you know, and performed. I put myself out there and performed in venues and stuff like that. I still mentally saw myself as that girl who wasn't allowed to sing and wasn't supposed to. I wasn't good enough. I missed my chance. And I feel like for many, many years I fought a second fiddle syndrome. Of part of it was like literally the dynamic of my friend singing before me and I didn't sing. You know what I mean? And I literally was her understudy for multiple performances and as we got older. But I was second in command everywhere I went. I was an understudy. I was not the lead, but I was the second to lead in like musicals and stuff like that. I was a backup singer. I was, do backup vocals and session work. I constantly put myself into that role because I saw myself as that person and how important it has been in my older years as an adult to start to reframe how I see myself. And I didn't know I was doing it for decades. I didn't know I was doing this. Cool. But when I become conscious of it and aware and present to it, I can choose to reframe and see myself as, I know this sounds kind of trite and self-indulgent, but the main character in my own story. You know what I mean?
No, that's huge. And I think that's a great reason why parents should get their kids voice lessons when with a really skilled coach. Yeah. When they're coming of age, especially, not only to navigate the voice, but for deeper purposes to navigate these little traumatic things that happen to all of us as kids in different ways. And they form us. It makes me think immediately of a client that I worked with in LA for a while, and I really adored this kid. He had texture, tone. He was so good looking. He had everything, right? Everyone's eyes were on him. He was out there. But one of the things that came through our sessions after many of them, because he strained really bad. Just could not get above that, first, second transition there.
Yeah.
And one day it all broke. He had done a school performance in middle school. He, his voice cracked. Typical story, right?
Yeah.
All the kids laughed at him. His teacher told him basically how bad it was.
Ugh.
And that caused him to build up this really debilitating strain in his vocal.
To prevent that from happening?
Yes, which also informed him in every other aspect of his life. And we started to break through that.
Oh, I bet
right?
it's like therapy sometimes
It's therapy.
with our clients.
So, and same in your story you're just telling, it's like this stuff comes out when you work on your voice.
I know, because
right?
it's so intimately tied to your person.
So that's so good.
I mean,
I'm glad you worked through it.
I, as an adult, am able
Hope you
to
don't
look
feel
through.
second fiddle to me ever.
Well, I don't know. I might sing backup vocals for you someday, so
You're
we'll
going
see.
to.
I actually really love singing backgrounds. I will say that it's a lot of fun. But I look back as an adult, and I can be, in a good way, I can look at that situation and be like, that was ridiculous that I wasn't allowed to sing.
That's good.
Because now my choir director, God bless him, was real high strung, had a lot of anxiety. I can see that now as an adult. He operated out of his capacity, and he made a choice not to break my heart, but to keep a tight ship running because that was what was important to him.
Sure.
And so I can empathize with that, but I can also be like, oh man, that's kind of it. I can say that was ridiculous because I can tell little 10-year-old Shelby, that wasn't your fault for kind of chickening out, because you did eventually get the nerve and you were going to go on stage and do it. So the situation didn't allow you to, which was silly because it was a little church event in someone's house. It's not like the symphony, show must go on or televised on national TV. It was a really simple little home show that, you can mess with the cue, the order of acts a little bit. It wouldn't have been a big deal. And so it's helpful for me to be able to look back on that with that perspective, not to be bitter and angry that it happened, but to help heal that little girl, because to be honest, I still can act like that 10-year-old in certain avenues of my life. And we all do this when we've experienced trauma at different ages of our lives, especially when you're younger.
Yeah.
There are parts of you that are prancing around at that age, but you're maybe 41, but I'm acting like I'm 10 in certain ways. And that doesn't mean I'm throwing temper tantrums, right? Like a toddler. It just means that I haven't healed enough to be able to age and progress and move on. So I've been working on that a lot for the last several years.
And we always have to keep working on it. These woundings, especially at young ages, they stick with us. And, and again, anytime we get in front of people, we find the courage and allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to do that. Yeah. That wounding from something traumatic goes way deep.
It really does.
Way deep. And so I always feel for like singers, we just had one recently with can't think of her name right now. The Star Spangled Banner. Country singer, Ingrid Anders.
Something Anders.
Yeah, Anders.
She was totally drunk and performed it.
Yeah, but that's something she's gonna have to work through now.
Oh yeah, she will.
Getting all that hate thrown at her.
Yep.
Hate in the form of like, ha ha ha, or
you're terrible. Yeah.
People are mean and ruthless out there. They are.
Right.
To all of us when we put ourselves out there. So I'm glad that you see that. Obviously you do. And you help people see through that you coach. I do. And it's really the power of all this, right?
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm passionate about in coaching for sure with people.
Totally. I have a similar story, not personally, but something that could affect this child that I don't know their name. Carlos and I could tell Tenori stories for years of things that happen on the road because they always happened. And they were always good. I mean, put 4 dramatic people together who all have their own big personalities and their big voices. And, well, one was our manager. She didn't sing, but, like, there was just always stuff. So, the story I'm going to tell. We were somewhere in Canada. We were in it was like a pickup show. So, we were doing a show in a pickup, meaning, like, we'd had 1 or 2 big shows and we were just adding on something in the area for extra money and exposure. So it was at a small church, And I think it was like a Wednesday night thing, because we would do a lot of churches in Sonoran, as well as theaters and stuff. But we had a swing tenor on this tour because tenor Mark had a vocal injury. He had a long-term, started as laryngitis. It ended up being like paralysis of one of the vocal folds.
Yeah.
So it took him about a year to get over it, but he recovered. So we had swing tenors. So one of the times we started bringing Carlos in more before he officially joined the group. But this isn't about Carlos. I won't tell you which tenor this was because I don't want to embarrass him. But he wouldn't care because it's not really that bad. But during most of the time, I did most of the talking, especially when we had, because we had little funny bits and jokes we would tell. And every tenor could talk and interact, but I was kind of like the one who kind of like led the charge of the conversations. And so Mark didn't really love talking on stage, so he was cool with it. Shane, the first guy, he and I would kind of take tag team on it. Then he left, and we started having these swing tenors come in, right? He left the group. It was Mark and Shane and I were the original three. And so we had this swing tenor that had been recommended to us. He lived in Florida. Actually, another swing tenor, David, had recommended him to us. And he was a great singer, and but we didn't want him talking. And so, because we just didn't like, he could talk long and go on, but we gave him a spot.
I know somebody else that can do that.
We gave him a spot that he could talk in the show. And so one of the things he would do occasionally was bring someone up on stage. And so he brought this little girl up on stage at this church. She was probably 7 or 8. And like, she's traumatized to be on stage in front of everyone. The little thing you get her to sing is get the kid to sing something. And clearly she didn't want to do it.
She's like, I ain't doing this.
And he's like, it's going to be okay. All these people are for you. Clap, blah, blah. And she's like, And I'm like, dude, you picked the wrong person. Can you not tell? Just put her back in her chair and find another one.
Yeah.
But he's going in. He's not gonna bail shit. And he's like, it's okay. And I see what's happening. So does, I think David was with us on that tour. We had 2 swings on that one because David wasn't official in the group yet either. And so we see what's happening. So does our piano player, and so does everyone in the front of the audience. And he's like, it's okay. Like, these are your friends. Like, you're not going to pee your pants or anything. She's literally peeing, and he doesn't know it. She peed herself in front of everyone.
Oh, no. How awful.
It was awful.
How did they get her off stage?
I'm actually traumatized remembering this. I don't know how we wrapped that up.
Oh, that's so bad.
I think he finally noticed. I think he finally noticed, like, oh gosh, she's peeing, and put her back in her seat.
Oh man!
But there was also just a wet spot on the stage the rest of the concert.
That poor sweet girl.
I know.
I hope she's recovered somewhere out there.
Traumatized.
That's really bad.
Yeah. So
on every
story.
level, for the swing tenor, for the little girl.
Yeah.
Clearly for you, you're still dealing with that trauma.
Yeah. You don't want to pee on stage.
Oh, no. No, you don't. Oh, that's the saddest thing ever.
So sad. But
what a great story to end on, Jason.
Yeah, a little funny story. Hope you guys enjoyed story time today.
Yeah.
We're going to keep doing a lot of these because they're fun. They're playful.
Yeah.
It gives more insight to each of us.
True.
And hopefully helps people out there be like, that wasn't so bad. What happened to me on stage?
That's
Share what
fair.
those two
Yeah,
just said.
fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I was horrified and very, very embarrassed that then after that night, I was the kid who was too scared to do it. And also because there was something inside of me wanting to sing so bad that not being able to do that and like for the first time show these people I grew up with what I could do. And now I had to wait till whenever it was going to be. And they were just kind of like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Little Shelby, she must not be very good. And that was what was going on in my head,
Totally.
So
I think, and overall, like
it was embarrassing.
Of course. I think, kind of wrap it all up there. It's like we should all have extra grace and tenderness when something like that happens to a kid or an adult.
Yeah.
Be it on TV. Or yourself. Especially yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Grace and tenderness in these moments
it's hard.
are the best Band-Aid to put on.
Yeah.
Right? For someone so they can move through that. Regardless of age, regardless of where they're from, anything.
Yeah.
And especially for you haters out there,
None of y'all are haters.
Yeah, don't
All of our
hate.
listeners.
Don't ever type on someone's like
No
social
keyboard
media
warriors.
post, like,
No.
that's the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah. So grace, hope, love to all y'all for joining us today. This was fun.
Go
We'll do
heal
more.
your inner child.
Yes, go heal your inner child. We'll see you on the next podcast.
See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vocal Lab podcast. Ready to join the top ranks of the music industry? Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more first-class conversations that make the extraordinary your new ordinary. Until next time, keep striving for your top note.